Welcome back to She Can, where women lead by example. We interview women from all over the world to hear their stories, their insights and experiences, because it's easier to be what you can see. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy our stories. And I'm very excited to talk to Kim Shapira today. Welcome, Kim, to She Can. We're going to get to
Thank
our
you.
conversation about how you got to where you are today and to get all of your insights. You're a celebrity dietitian that helps people from around the world to lose weight, keep fit, stay on the wellness journey with your Kim Shapira method that consists of 6 simple steps. You also wrote a book. This is what you're really hungry for, which is an amazing book. And we're going to talk about that as well. And you have a master class called Never Diet Again, which I love. And I highly recommend people to subscribe to your newsletter, which I've had the pleasure of receiving. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to this place.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Um, I'll tell you exactly how I got here. I used to think of myself as a sick kid. And when I was 12, and I'm currently 51, when I was 12 in 1986, I got very sick. And I ended up at UCLA, which is a hospital in Los Angeles. And I would go on to spend the next 5 years in and out of UCLA. And when I was 12, I had a few reconstructive surgeries. And I, again, would have considered myself sick. And what's interesting about this is I was a shy kid. And one day when I was on my way to visit my 4 male specialists, I was crying. And my mom said to me, "Don't cry. We'll go shopping after your doctor appointment."
Mm.
And it was like this light bulb went off in my head, and she gave me this greatest gift where I now could put my mind to when I was scared.
Mm.
And so I basically planted a seed of this new way of thinking. And when I was in high school, a doctor mentor of mine told me that food could make you sick or healthy. And it was in that moment where I was like, well, I'm choosing to be healthy if I have a choice, and I'm going to help the rest of the world get healthy. And so I went to college with this intention. I went to grad school with this intention. And then I opened a private practice. And my first client was a therapist. And she was lovely. And I put her on a diet. And I told her exactly what to eat. And she followed exactly what I told her to do. And she lost 30 pounds. And she got off her cholesterol medication and her blood pressure medication. And then she said to me, "I'm going to gain the weight back." And it just broke my heart. And I thought, why? We just changed everything. And she said, "My husband wants to be intimate with me all the time. And I was molested as a child." And I realized that it wasn't about the food.
Mm.
And everything I had ever learned had been about the food. And so I kind of had to do a deep dive then and there, very, very early, like first year into my practice. And then I started noticing that my clients were eating in the same way that I was shopping.
Mm.
And then I started noticing that I could think of what I wanted to buy and actually not buy it. And then my mom started laughing at me once when I was rushing to get off the phone way before we had phones and the internet because I wanted to get to a sale because I needed to get this thing. And she laughed at me and she said, Bloomingdale's always has a sale." And I was like, this can't be true. This can't be true. And then I was like, maybe I should pay attention. And it turns out it was true. And so I started adopting that with my clients. There's food everywhere. You can have this meal at any time. You know that this is safe. You can put it on hold and come back. And if you still really want it, then it's going to be right there. And so as I started helping myself through my own demons, I started applying that. And that's what's become the Kim Shapira method. And I changed my point of view from helping people reach a goal to practicing a lifestyle where the side effect was the change that they wanted, but helping them recreate this goal that really it's to learn how to keep the weight off.
Yeah. Amazing, Kim. And really, it's not about dieting. It's about a healthy life. It's about being physically, mentally, emotionally, medically fit. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit more how you work with your clients. So if I were to come to you, how would it work?
Yeah. So my first appointment would be an hour long, and we would go through their health history, and then we would go through all of their physical ailments, so to speak. So, head to toe, we'd be looking at, headaches all the way down to joint pain, to diarrhea, bloating, gas, constipation, like literally every single ailment that could be affecting you that maybe you didn't think to talk to your doctor about. Maybe you didn't know you needed support in. And then we would be working on putting that into balance. And really, it is about the relationship you have with food because so many people tell me that they love something and they really can't be with it by itself. They need a distraction when they're having it, is one problem. And the second problem is the very thing that they love could be making them sick.
Mm,
And so, why would we stay in a relationship where something is hurting us? And so, it goes so much deeper.
yeah. Kim, what would you say are your biggest learnings after a long time of, first of all, healing yourself?
Yeah. Oh,
Understand,
I'm a work in progress for sure.
well,
Yeah.
aren't
Yeah.
we all?
Like currently right now, let me answer your question first. Um, it's about our mind.
Mm,
We think we are our thoughts, and it is just mind-blowing that we think this because none of us are responsible for telling our hearts to beat, our lungs to breathe, our stomach to digest. And our mind's job is to actually scan based on what we see, smell, feel, hear, and touch, and tell us how to make this moment more pleasurable, as if we need pleasure in every single second.
mm,
And so once we can actually almost tame our mind, right? Train it to be in our body, even through discomfort. So, again, back to my 12-year-old self, I had four male doctors examining me, and I didn't want to be in my body. That is scary. And
mm.
like I said, I was shy. I didn't have a voice. And not only did I have four doctors, I had interns and I made medical history. So I had extra people examining my body, and I didn't have a voice. And so, of course, I didn't want to be in those moments. But if I could think of what I got to buy afterward, but the thing is I definitely outgrew that. I now can stay in my body because I can survive the moment. I trust this now, right? And so I think the greatest lesson I've ever learned is to know where your mind is and to trust that you're safe in the moment you're in.
Kim, and I love that. Tell us a little bit more about the book. How you got to write it, what your learnings are from writing it. How are you seeing people who read it change their lives?
I mean, my book is such a passion project, especially since my 11th grade English teacher told me I was a terrible writer. So I had to overcome that idea. But the book is a love letter to every single person. It's hopefully going to touch you in a place that is been hurting and that you can find some relief. So yesterday I was speaking to a gentleman who I've actually never met. He's my car insurance broker, and he saw that my book was on the end of my email, and so he bought my book, and then he sent me an email saying, just so you know, I weighed 670 pounds. I have always struggled with food and my diet, and I'm currently at 300 pounds, and I've really been stuck at 300 pounds. And so he read my book, and then he's still currently reading it. And yesterday he sent a note saying, I had no idea that I ate while I was distracted. I
Amazing.
had no idea that the problem was that I was watching TV. So I wasn't really enjoying the Pringles or the Oreos,
Mm.
and that it's an opportunity to really find what is missing in my life because it's not hunger. So I think there's so many gems, and it really depends. I think it's, you and I, we have a special connection, and I think we are open to receiving because we're on the same like wavelength, so to speak. And so it depends on what you're open to receiving when you read the book. And I think it's the kind of book you can read in 6 months or 1 year again, and you will totally see something different.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to Dr. Jennifer Fried because in her course, we two met.
Yes.
So give us some tips, Kim. What would your top tips be for living a healthy life and never dieting again, which is music to my ears because we are still, most women think about dieting,
Mm.
I would say maybe every day.
Yeah. So I would say the first tip is learn how to trust yourself and like really it's an inside job. And so understanding the spectacular nature of the inside of yourself. And, I think that Michael Singer, he wrote Untethered Soul, he really says to be a witness to your thoughts, and to recognize that the ocean is vast and there's depth and that there's stillness in the water and that you can be seeing the waves and remain still. And I would say the number one tip is to not respond to what you're thinking, but to rather see what you're thinking and then come back to your body and see if it's true.
Mm,
And then I have 6 simple rules, and I think they are the link to longevity. They are the link to sustainability. They are the link to connecting to yourself. And, it's really understanding, do I eat when I'm hungry? Or am I eating because of something else?
mm,
And then allowing yourself to be hungry when you eat and only as much as you need now, trusting that you're going to eat again in 3 hours. And if you have been dieting or there has ever been restriction, then there's fear there. And where there is fear is where we have work to do. And so it's just maybe micro steps, and maybe that's just where you're starting. Do I allow myself to get hungry? And to be honest, that's scary enough. That's, our basic survival at risk, or we think, and it's really not.
yeah.
And so what does hunger feel like? It's not scary, it's not painful. And then to fall in love with moving your body.
Mm.
Move your body so that can help you maintain your weight loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Kim,
Yeah.
thank you for that. So, what would you say are the challenges that you face in your life, your line of work, and how do you reframe them?
Mm. Okay, I'm confused by the question, but what I think you're asking is when I'm with a client,
I
where am
guess
I?
it could be anything. I mean, it's always interesting to understand, what are women most proud of, and the other side of
Mm,
the coin is what are they challenged
okay,
with, and how do
perfect.
they reframe it to keep on going?
Mm. Okay, so I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm currently working on my relationship with money.
Yeah.
And I would say that this applies to almost every one of my clients. And I'm in the season of spending a ton of money. I'm just in that season. I've got, 2 kids in college, which is 2 other households besides my one in California, and one's going abroad. And, she still has an apartment in her college. Like we have the holiday season, 21, her 21st birthday, my mom's birthday. It's a season of spending.
Yeah.
And so I notice that every single time that I'm spending or thinking about money, my body tenses.
Mm,
And it's in that tension where I'm fearful.
yeah.
And so I'm really trying to grow capacity there to expand. And so if somebody is worried about food or, what they're going to have on Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, then their mind is not in the moment they're in. And so really working on bringing their moment back and then breathing into it and reminding their mind that they are safe.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the single most important thing that I'm working on and that I try and get my clients to work on.
Kim, and what are you most proud of to date?
Oh my goodness. Um, Honestly, I'm raising 3 daughters.
Mm,
So the fact that they currently see food the way I see food, that they can understand that not everybody sees food the way that I see food and can maintain their own boundaries there is, I'm very, very, very proud of this.
Yeah. Kim, so what would your plans and goals be for the next years? Is there anything you are launching, changing, expanding?
So many things. Yes, I'm really working on expanding my reach to as many people as I can. And in doing so, I'm creating a facilitators program where I will be working with other dietitians and nutrition coaches to teach them how to use my 6 simple rules to help everybody that they're working with.
Yeah, amazing, Kim. So, what would you like the takeaways to be from your story?
From my story, that I think what most people are hungry for is peace around their food and well-being, and that it's going to depend on each person in their own lives. One of my favorite quotes is, "She needed a hero, so she became one."
Mm,
I believe that each one of us is the hero in our own story. And if I could help everybody see that piece, that it's them against them.
yeah, which is beautiful, Kim. I think this is the most beautiful end to this conversation we could have. And thank you all for listening. I'll see you again tomorrow with another story packed full of insights just for you.